So I got a Corvette. You guys are looking at it. Um, so I have my valve or my fuel rail off because we're going to be talking about an LT1 from a Camaro in a car. But before I get into that, I'm going to talk about something else. Went and looked at another car today. It was in good shape. It was in very good shape. But the problem was I'm not interested in dealing with the problems from 30 years of deferred maintenance. So I'm passing on that one because, it's in great shape. But for what I'm going to have to do to it, if I don't drive it ever, it will be no big deal. I understand that. But if I buy a car, I am driving it. So therefore, I'm going to have to deal with all of the deferred maintenance issues and the issues that are coming about because the previous owners never drove it. So that being said, the dude made a typo. It's supposed to be 130,000. I went and looked at it. It was actually 30,000 miles, and evidently so. Tires were everything was in great shape. The tires looked great. They were on the 15-year-old side, which, let's face it, a lot of these people don't understand that, it's got good tread, that means it's good. Don't understand that the life of the tire isn't dependent on the tread depth. Just, kids, I tell you. So I went back kind of thinking about the car that I looked at yesterday. Now, when I got home yesterday, after looking at this car, I did a bunch of research on the car, and toward the end of the night, I was like, hang on, I don't want to split. So this car I went to look at was red. This base model it was white base model. It had a beautiful red interior. The driver's seat was a little on the rougher side, but everything seemed to work. There was a couple of things button-wise that didn't want to work. The headlights were kind of sluggish. Could be just from not being used. I don't know. But anyway, car had it was almost at 106,000 miles, right? Now, the kid that I went to go talk to that, was selling the car. This was not, he wasn't a Corvette owner. He wasn't a Corvette guy. He's just a kid trying to sell a Corvette. At least that's what I think. That's what I would like to think. But, the more I talk about think back and, think about how he was talking to me and everything. Neighbors yelling at their dog. So anyway, the more I think back on things, the less I think that, I think he was just trying to withhold some information so he could get the car sold, right? I know that he doesn't know what I know now, but it is what it is. So I will tell you about that here in just a minute. But so this car, with the hood closed, I looked around, and keeping in mind it had 106,000 miles on it. He's at 105. It had 106,000 miles on it because he drives it. Which now that I think about it, this even irritates me more. But anyway, I will say this in just a minute. So anyway, there were a couple of scuff marks on the body. That was it. The car had A-mold, repro, A-molds on them. They were the square-spoked ones. They looked okay. They were good. The tires were in good shape, other than being, also 11 years old. I don't understand what it is with Corvette guys and not replacing their tires. Come on, guys. It's got tread on it. We're good to go. No, that's not the case, Grandpa. Till you blow a tire on the freeway. But anyway, a lot of these guys don't understand why their front end's shaking around. Oh, it's because your tire's got a broken belt in it because it's disintegrating from the inside out. Anyway. So anyway, this car I went to go look at, and it basically it fit the bill for what I wanted for the channel. Price was not where I wanted it. The price was not where it needed to be. And I will tell you, the price should have been, and I mean, if the guy that bought it today doesn't find out for himself, then, I guess, I don't know. But anyway, I get there to look at the car. The car, body-wise, it looks pretty okay. The hood's not aligned properly. There's things that need to be done, weather stripping. But anyway, I'm going around the car thinking, man, that'll make a video. That'll make a good video. Man, that'll make a good video too. Just a little bit of reconditioning there. That'll make a great video. So I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at all the videos I can make for you guys off of the car. Well, anyway, guy comes out and he opens the hood. And immediately, I'm on the passenger side of the car. Immediately, I already knew. I'd already seen a couple of pictures of the underside of the car. The engine, right? It's not the end of the world how the engine looked, but there are things that stood out to me that just didn't seem right. And I knew that the car had a newer clutch and newer flywheel or something, and maybe a flywheel, I don't know. But anyway, had a newer clutch in it. And so, at least the kid said that it had a newer clutch. The clutch felt pretty good, but kind of felt like it was slipping, to be quite honest, now that I'm thinking about it. But anyway, car had 106,000 miles on it. Why would you need a clutch? You don't really need a clutch at 100,000 miles. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, things just don't add up here. This does not look right. Why doesn't this look right? And the pictures that the kid sent me initially, the only thing I homed in on was the valve covers. The valve covers were stamped steel Camaro valve covers. Not the end of the world. You guys can switch out your valve covers and do whatever you want, right? Not the end of the world. The valve cover's not going to do anything other than make putting the fuel rail covers on a little bit harder, right? So, I start coming in on the passenger side, right? So I'm looking at the passenger side, and first off, the car's warm, so I can't check the coolant. Which really bummed me out because I'm like, why? God darn it, really? Come on. So anyway, clearly the motor's been out. The EGR tube had a new band clamp on it. The check valve was not replaced, but they had a band clamp on that. So clearly, somebody had, maneuvered things and gotten the motor out and then put the motor back in, or so you would think, right? So something that stood out to me, and I'll post a picture, but something that stood out to me is this line right here. For whatever reason, they had cut it off at the elbow here and redirected it. This was hanging free, zip tied to things, and it was attached from here to here with a rubber hose. Now, that was very odd. I don't know why you would do that. I don't understand what the premise of that would be. Why that would be like that, right? Or maybe it was... No, it was this line. It was this line right here, yeah, because that bends down and comes out like that. The other one's attached to the fuel pressure regulator. Now, I asked the kid at this point, was this a Camaro motor that was put in here? I'm like, dude, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the day. It's just... this doesn't seem like... Why would you do this if you were pulling the motor to replace the clutch, right? The other thing that really bothered me was... he had the original valve covers, but the dipstick tube was like way out to here. And I shit you not, guys, it was a Camaro dipstick tube and dipstick. So I'm like, okay, something's going on here. So I start looking at bolts and, hose routing and everything, since I've just had all these things apart on mine. And half the bolts are missing for the pump coming down around. There are other things missing here. This bracket here is missing. And I'm like, what? Why would this stuff be missing if you're just taking your motor out to put it back in? I understand people are idiots. Whoever put the motor back in kind of did a hack job, okay? I know it wasn't this kid that did this, so I'm not beating him up about it. So if you are watching, I'm not beating you up about it. It's just whoever did the install didn't know what they were doing. See, look at this, right? Now, there's two types of people that would... there's two types of people that would hack job their Corvette together like that. Person that doesn't know better, and a person that does know better, but they're trying to get rid of the car, right? They're trying to sell the car. They're trying to flip it. There's a third outlier. People that just want to get their car running and looking the part. Now, in my situation, you can't tell that this isn't an LT1 or an LT4 unless you start digging into it. And furthermore, you definitely can't tell that this was a Camaro motor. The reason why is because I took my time, I actually did things right, and I put it together how it should have been, right? How it should be. And, there aren't broken pieces, there aren't missing components. It's there. It's what it's supposed to be, right? So, that just tipped me off. I'm like, this just doesn't seem right, right? It doesn't seem like, things are doing what they're supposed to here, right? So I knew that the kid had a pile of papers, right? And, I'm sitting here like, okay, well, maybe the reason why this all looks like it does is because it was, everything was taken out because the engine needed to be pulled out because of the flywheel, Not the end of the world, right? It did have the studs, 3 of the studs for the fuel rail covers. So, yeah, so they at least attempted a little bit to kind of make it look like it was a Corvette. Anyway, so, I'm looking at the car. The inside of the car looked great, looked awesome. And, I'm still like on the fence about that motor, right? I'm not really pressing the issue on the motor. I want to see how everything runs and how the car drives. So I get in the car and I go to release the parking brake, and all I did was set the parking brake. It would not reset. It wouldn't release. So, when you go up like this, and you got this little nub that engages with the parking brake, that was like this whole mechanism was like twisted out and bent, right? And the previous owner had told the kid that somebody at a car wash messed it up when they were getting out and bent it real bad. I don't know about that, but I know that the parking brake was broken before the kid got it. How do I know this? How do I know that this parking brake was messed up? Well, up until this point, I'd been holding out. I'm like, man, this just doesn't seem right. This whole car seemed fishy to me, right? Keeping in mind, I am 6 hours away from my previous drive in this car over a year ago. Over a year ago, I had sat in the very same driver's seat and driven that very same car. At that point, the car was way overpriced, and I did not recall, because I didn't take any pictures, I didn't recall the engine being the way it was. I came to it knowing that it was a Camaro motor, so I didn't investigate it further. Now, it had some chatter coming out, going into reverse. I mean, it felt like it was slipping almost. Going forward, it seemed fine. It might have been a little loose. I don't know. I mean, it definitely wasn't 330 horsepower. It was definitely 300 horsepower. So anyway, what am I getting at here? So at this point, I did not know that for sure it was that car, right? So I'm sitting here trying to think what this car's worth in my mind. I'm unsure at this point whether it's a Camaro motor or if it is a Corvette motor. But I can tell you things aren't adding up. If it is a Camaro, if it is a Corvette motor, it definitely doesn't look the part, right? I mean, I don't know why somebody would change to a Camaro dipstick. I don't know, or dipstick and dipstick tubes. So you got to change both. So they are different. So just making sure you guys are aware of that. Why they would cobble the fuel lines together, and why you would also cobble the zip tie. I've got some pictures of it, so I'll just post it. But anyway, the fuel line was zip tied to the EGR tube. That sucker gets pretty hot. Anyway, guys, this is why you got to look at your cars, right? So, anyway, I'll get into the moral of the story here in a minute. So I asked the kid if it was a Camaro motor. He said he wasn't sure, and he said he didn't know that if it was a Camaro motor or not. And he had a mountain of paperwork from one of the previous owners of this car. And the thing is, I was like, okay, well, if I can find the clutch paperwork, then I know what's been done with the motor, whether a shop did this or hacked it together, or basically what it looked like is if somebody had a Camaro motor, they did not have the original Corvette motor, and they had to cobble the Camaro motor into the Corvette motor, or into the Corvette engine bay, and they just didn't have the parts for it. Right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, you have to flip the fuel pressure regulator, or actually, no, you would need to get a different fuel pressure regulator. But yeah, now that I think about it, it may not have even been mounted, but I don't know how that would be because it's pretty pressurized and it would have blown off. But I digress. Anyway, I'm just thinking. But anyway, so anyway, I'm sitting here like, the car's not right. I mean, the car is right. It was perfect for what I wanted. The only thing is, I really don't need another 2-bolt motor. I've got a 2-bolt motor here. I was bummed out that the kid didn't know more about the motor and the clutch. And he claimed to me that he had only driven the car for 1,500 miles. Okay, well, I think I've already said it, but I had already driven that car nearly a year before him. And it had less, about 1,500 to 2,000 miles less than he had on the car. I don't recall it running as rough as it did. It sounded like it needed a tune-up, or like the OptiSpark was about to start giving you problems. He did say that there was coolant that he had to add to it before I got there to drive it. This is the kid. And he said that the oil light came on him, and it was half a quart low. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Judging by the way that the car runs and the mileage, I was like, okay. He's had it this long. He has only driven it this much. There's some pretty unique stickers on the windshield. Let's see if I can't find this car. So I dug through Facebook Marketplace, like all my old saved, because, one good way you can figure out what's going on in the market is by watching the market. And one way to do that is to save the listings and then go into your saved folder, scroll down all your favorite or saved listings, right? So what it'll do is, you'll be able to scroll through that and find what you're looking for. I scrolled back about a year, and there the car was. It was 6 hours away from me, and I had already driven it. I had already gone to drive it. I had already looked at the car. I knew the car. And in that listing, it said in black and white letters, Camaro 2-bolt motor installed. Previous owner said it had about 70,000 miles on it. New clutch, new rear main seal, blah, 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 blah. New this, new that. Anyway, I had found the car. The car, I knew what it was. I knew what was going on. So the car had originally been listed for 8, and I know the dude originally had it listed for 11, and then something happened to the motor. Something happened to the motor because he took it down and then relisted it and made the clarification that it had a Camaro motor in it. So the interesting thing about the Camaro motor is that there was nothing done to make it look good. I mean, it looked like it had been done a while back. So, okay, here's my theory. It was either a Camaro motor the whole time, or the guy was told that it was a Camaro motor, and he found out that it was a Camaro motor, and then he dropped the price a couple grand. That's probably what ended up happening. If the dude wasn't out there trying to get one over on a kid, right? At the end of the day, the car looked okay. It wasn't something that I would give $11,000 for. And frankly, at the end of the day, it was not something that I would give $5,000 for. I mean, it probably would have been worth $5,000. But, I mean, it wasn't a parts car. The interior was all there. The body was all there. None of the glass or anything was broken. The only thing that was suspect to me was the engine and clutch. Now, yes, I understand that, that could be several $1,000s to the right person. To make the car right, the parking brake, that was about $200. The mechanism for that would have been $200. When I drove this car, when I drove it before, it didn't do it, but definitely this time, I got on the car and ASR light went on, traction control light went on, ABS light went on, and the parking brake light was on the entire time. That was a debacle there, trying to get the parking brake off on the car, because the parking brake mechanism was broken and the kid just parked it in gear. Yep. A couple of the buttons on the dash didn't work. That's not the end of the world. I know how to fix that. That wouldn't have been too big of a deal. Let's see here. Tires were 11 years old. Sorting out the engine stuff. I'm pretty sure it leaked coolant. From what the kid was describing to me, it leaked coolant, or it was using coolant. Judging by how the engine was cobbled in there and the fuel line issue, the whole car was going to need to have been gone through in order to make sure it was right before I put it on the road as my chase car, or even drove it as a daily. So I felt like $5,000 would have been a good offer. So I was about to offer him that, and it ended up selling, which not the end of the world. Honestly, I think I dodged a bullet on it, to be quite honest. I probably, realistically, $5,000 is probably overdoing it on it. Is more of I wanted it. I wanted the red interior. I wanted the white, and I was going to put a blue stripe on it, make it a true reverse Grand Sport. That's what I was going to do with it. And wouldn't have taken much. I mean, I already got my intake manifold painted and everything ready to go. But the fact that it was a Camaro motor, a lot of parts were missing on the inside. Things were just cobbled together. It just really didn't make me feel comfortable making an offer right then and there. I wanted to make sure that I could decode the build sheet on it and, make sure what was on it, because it had selective ride control. Supposedly the owner previous fixed it, but the light was on still and didn't know why it was still on. Well, that means you didn't fix it, dummy. But anyway, it was still not fixed by the time I drove it again. Personally, I just take the shocks and change them out with regular shocks and then take the bulb out. It's just one of them things, that it'll just drive you nuts trying to figure it out. Or you can, and it felt like the passenger side front shock was dead, and it just is what it is. And the fact that, all the idiot lights, I mean, I was going to buy it right then and there up until I hit the gas and all the idiot lights came on. I was like, oh, no, 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 no. The clutch was slipping. Kind of felt like there was a lot of pedal. I mean, compared to my brand new pedal in this and compared to that, it did feel kind of close. I mean, it could have been a kids said it was a stage 2 clutch or something. That stuff doesn't really mean a lot to me, just because a lot of people don't race these things. And I can guarantee if you're putting a stage 2 clutch in something, you're cobbling together that dang bad. But anyway, I digress. It is what it is. But I don't know. I know more about what I'm in the ballpark for, though. What I'm willing to put up with. I am open to other years now. Beyond 96. Initially, I was looking for 96, and I wanted to stick with the 96 because I wanted to do that. And then I initially wanted to stick with an automatic because I wanted to have something different. But at the end of the day, realistically, I think I'm going to stick with a 6-speed if I can. If I can get an automatic, that'd be awesome too. But I find it interesting that, I was able to look that car up within my old sales ads that I had been saving over the years, and I was able to track it back. And but anyway, this just goes to show you guys that you need to pay attention when you're buying something. You need to look over everything when you're buying something. Now, not everybody's going to be as thorough as I am and actually make this thing look right. I mean, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know if it was an LT4 either. Honestly, somebody could do this and then put the Grand Sport thing on there and say, yep, LT4. The layperson would never know. They'd never, ever, ever know. It just... Can you tell? You can't tell, can you? But anyway, yeah, no, you can't tell. So anyway, all that being said, I did have fun driving it. I did have fun looking at it, engaging with the kid. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to come to a deal with him. I'm glad that I held my wallet close that day. To be quite honest, at the end of the day, I really don't want to buy something that's going to immediately end up being a project. If I do buy something, I don't know. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick to like the 6, 7, 8,000 price range on C4. It'll get me a nicer car. I don't know. But then again, it depends. Because I want to get something that's I'm not going to be, immediately underwater. It's like the car I looked at today. It was in immaculate shape. Needed tires, but it was in immaculate shape other than that. But the moment I started taking it apart and doing things, I'd immediately be underwater. But, I mean, getting the tires would put me underwater. I wouldn't be able to recover the cost of the tires. So, you just kind of have to take it as it is sometimes. But when you have so many red flags on something, if I had opened up the hood and it looked just like this, had it been a Camaro motor, I wouldn't have cared. But the things that were done, I'll put a screen cap here, right? There was a performance chip that the kid had pointed out. It was bolted or was zip tied to the frame, and it was wired in over here. I mentioned something about that yesterday. That performance chip, the company actually got sued, and because it was a scam. I mean, you opened it up, and it was just a breadboard with a couple of things on it. It was essentially, you guys remember back in the day on eBay, they would sell performance chips, and you get it in the mail, and it's just a resistor that you wire into your O2 sensor or something stupid like that. That's supposed to give you 30 horsepower. Yeah, so there's that. But anyway, I just find it fascinating that I was able to track down the car. I did my due diligence on it, and if I had been more naive about looking at the car, I could have got sucked into something. And maybe this kid did get sucked into something. He was in over his head on it. And if it was, then, it is what it is. And, I hope the kid learned his lesson. And next time he gets into a Corvette, he, reaches out to somebody that knows about him before he just jumps in. Which, if he did put 1,500 miles on it, which he did, it looks like that on the odometer. He probably drove it more than anybody else did. I digress. No. After looking at the car's history, the original owner put a lot of miles on it and enjoyed the car to the fullest, and basically used it up entirely. And from my understanding, probably it was a head gasket that killed the car. And, I think that there are still underlying issues with the motor that's in it now. So I'm pretty sure that car's going to be on marketplace again here within the next couple of months. And if it is, I'm not going to be offering them $5,000. But, it is what it is. I mean, just, when you guys are looking at things like this, just when you are looking at a car, whether it's a Corvette or something, think about the things that you're going to do to make it right. So, you have the car's worth, okay? Let's say this thing's worth $20,000, right? Cracked hood, mirrors messed up, cracked windshield. Start taking points off, right? And then once you get to the bottom dollar, and don't be like, oh, I can find a hood for $20. No, don't do that. How much is it going to be to repaint the hood? How much is it going to be to replace the hood with a junkyard unit that you don't know, right? Let's say this is $1,000 or whatever. $1,000 for a hood, $2,000 to have it painted, to have it match painted, make it look right. $3,000-$4,000 for a motor. You start taking points off. Don't just buy these things for what, oh yeah, I can do that in the garage, Yeah, maybe you can. But if you save $600 and end up putting about $3,000 worth of parts and labor in it, then you're not saving yourself anything. You're in it underwater. So if you gotta walk away from something, do that. And I'm kind of glad that this happened to me. I'm actually really glad that it happened to me because I'm not upset at the kid. I can't really be upset with the kid. I think the kid was being pretty honest with me. As far as the oil consumption, him saying that the oil light came on and it was a quart low, or half a quart low or something stupid like that. I was like, I don't know about that. And then, it's just all these weird things, right? And the old tires, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to beat the kid up too much. And, frankly, if I knew the history about the motor, if I felt comfortable about the motor, I would have taken the car home that day. So, yeah, if you guys have to walk away from a situation, you have to walk away from a car, and, it's just like, I mean, I would have felt comfortable leaving him, hold on to it. Here's a couple $100, hold on to it. I would have felt comfortable doing that, but I didn't feel confident that the car was something that I really wanted because the history was so gray that, if the engine bay looked the way it did, then chances are there's something else that looks like that too. And I did not want to get surprised by it. And frankly, from here back on the car looked great. Everything back that way looked great. Sucks. But yeah, now I know what I'm kind of looking for. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to make a video about a couple of different design ideas that I have for, moving forward, doing stripe looking deals on the car. I'm probably going to stick with white if I do end up getting another one, or I'm going to try to avoid red. I really don't want another red Corvette. I have a habit of getting a bunch of the same colors. Now, I will say I've only ever had one other blue RX-7 And that was 100% a parts car. Ironically enough, it was a parts car for this. Yeah, so it is what it is. Really good stuff. Anyway, guys, so I got a Corvette. You guys are looking at it. Have you guys had any experiences in the past similar to what I described? And do you have any advice for other people who are looking for cars, especially C4 Corvettes, or not necessarily C4 Corvettes, but stuff that's niche community stuff like the Corvette? Yeah, just share some words of wisdom in the comment section below. And if you found the video entertaining or what have you, feel free. Let me know in the comment section. I've got a bunch of videos that are going to be coming out here real soon. I'm just going to be piling them on you guys. And you're just going to have to deal with it. So, yeah, until next time, I got a couple more cars to look at. Maybe by spring we'll have a brand new one in the stable. And we'll have our LT4 back in the car. Anyway, guys, catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.